the good understanding that you have. So that is the first thing that we must do. The understanding that we have is something that we will do as best as we can to preserve and be absolutely sure that no matter what we do in life, we are not going to part with the all-important understanding about the purpose of life, the Creator, and of course the manner we have to operate. That is something that needs to be taken care of. We need to meaningfully integrate with the society. We are a part of a society. We have voluntarily, hopefully voluntarily chosen to live in this society. Nobody pushed us to join in. And therefore, it's important from the point of view of our faith that we become a meaningful part of the society. There is a hadith wherein the Prophet, may Allah's mercy be on him, is reported to have said, faith expects well-wishing for all. Ad-deenun nasiha. When you believe in religion, you mean good for all. You wish well for everyone. It is simply not acceptable, imaginable, that a true believer would hate others, would have ill feeling for others. You wish well for everybody. And then we know that the Quran is telling us that as believers, you obey God, obey His Messenger, and those in authority among you. If you are living in a society, this society is run by a system. There are people who want the help of the affairs, and they are the ones whose authority has to be accepted and obeyed. If you are living in this society, you've chosen to live here, it's a part of your religious requirement, your religious duty, that while you say your prayers, for example, you give zakat, you fast during the month of Ramadan, you also abide by, for example, the traffic rules of the society, the other laws of the society. It's a part of our religious duty that we do it. The Almighty doesn't want us to create chaos, mischief, disorder, indiscipline. He wants us to be disciplined, and He wants us to follow the authority that we have chosen to become a part of. And most certainly the Quran keeps emphasizing, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu awfu bil uqud. Believers, fulfill your commitments. If you have chosen to become a citizen of this country, for example, you've given an oath, you've made a promise. As believers, you do not have a right to break. You simply cannot do it, because you said that you will do it. And you read the Quran, you will find that it emphasizes over and over again that if you are a believer, you will be firm on your commitments. The Prophet, may Allah's mercy be on him, is reported to have said, La dina liman la ahda lahu. The one who is not prepared to honor his commitments has no religion. So when we are a part of this society, quite apart from ensuring that we preserve our faith, we have also got to make sure that we contribute to the betterment and the welfare of the society, and moreover, we make sure that whatever laws are given to us to follow as citizens of this country, we follow them. I'm telling you that it's a part of your religious requirement. Well, you might ask, what about those laws which go against our beliefs? Well, let's find out what they are. We make a point to the authorities that we are uncomfortable. We'll try to fight our case. But so long as you are a part of a society wherein you have accepted the norms to be followed, well, you've got no choice. Either you stay or you make your decision to go elsewhere. I'm telling you that when you have made a commitment, you have to follow that commitment. We need to learn from the West as well. The Quran keeps telling us that there is no harm in learning from others. We have accepted our religion, hopefully, because we believe that it's the truth from God. Truth is something which convinces, which makes sense. We are convinced. We went into the arguments. We reflected upon it, and we found that this makes a lot of sense. Why on earth would anybody who really is confident about the fact that what he is believing in and following is from God would ever feel uncomfortable and nervous in opening up for other truths that are presented by other people? So we would learn whatever is there to be learned from the West, and quite honestly, there's a lot to be learned from the West. What they have done in the domain of science, technology, progress in society is amazing. It's very unfortunate if simply because of some strange feeling of sense of false superiority or arrogance, we spurn and reject the possibility of learning from people with whom we are sharing the society. Most certainly we be careful that we do not jeopardize our faith. We be careful that we do not compromise on our principles, but we will most certainly do well to learn from them. And quite honestly, apart from science, technology, we also learn quite a bit of morals from these people. Let's face it, let's admit, and the Almighty wants us to be honest in admitting that they're honest, they're disciplined, they follow the laws, they honor their commitments, they're more reliable. Let's find out why we are not. Let's learn from them. Let's try to honor our commitments as they do. And what we do in the process is not going to be something that would amount to losing faith. If anything, we'll be confirming, furthering our commitment to our religion. And the Prophet, may Allah's mercy on him, is reported to have said, wisdom is a lost treasure of a believer. No matter wherever it is his lost treasure, Dhallatul Mu'min, and he grabs it no matter wherever he finds it from. So there is nothing wrong in learning from what this society has to offer to us in positive ways. And of course, it's something that each individual would do well to find out and to remain open and to feel confident that by learning from them, we're not losing anything, we are gaining. Last but not least, we need to inform others about the true Islam. I thought I had made a slight change. My last statement which I read was, we need to be true representatives of our faith. No blame on you, my mistake. We need to be true representatives of our faith. Ladies and gentlemen, you like it or not, when you are living in this country, you are known to be Muslims. When you are a Muslim, you represent a faith. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is your prophet. What you do reflects on your religion. What you do as a reflection on the understanding about your prophet. It really is a very serious matter. If you misbehave, imagine what kind of an impression you are creating. So we need to be the true representatives of our faith. We are representing our faith, as I said, you like it or not. You just cannot escape the reality that you are known to the non-Muslims as Muslims, and Islam is a faith which claims to be the message based on the message coming from God. If you are telling lies, if you are cheating, if you are not fulfilling your promises, if you are doing things which are immoral, well, don't blame people if they start blaming your faith. Because they don't know your faith. They do not know the teachings of your religion. What they see is you and your deeds. And therefore, we have got no choice but to make sure that we behave properly. We are good, true representatives of our religion. The Almighty says, believers be firm in upholding justice, becoming witnesses of God in doing so, even if it goes against your own interests, those of your parents or relatives. I've read this verse quite often, but honest to God, each time I read it, I'm embarrassed. Because you know what this verse is saying? You just cannot be prejudiced. You've got to be absolutely fair and just. When you take a decision, whether conceptual or practical. You've got to find out what the truth is. Whether the understanding of the truth that you get goes against your own interests or the interests of your parents or your relatives or anyone, doesn't matter. It should not create any barrier or obstacles in the way of you acknowledging and embracing truth and being fair. So that is what we stand for. We are witnesses of the Almighty before the entire mankind. Doing what? Telling people that, look here, we are the champions of justice. People should learn justice from us. That is what our role is. So we should do what is expected from us. Another verse says, let not enmity of a nation incline you to be unfair. Be fair. That is closest to God consciousness. That is, if you dislike somebody, an individual, if you dislike a group for some reason, and there comes another problem, another issue, another matter, wherein you have to give your own decision, be fair. Let not that enmity dissuade you from taking the right decision. That is what you're expected to do. In other words, you're not allowed to be biased. You're not allowed to be partial. Forget about the fact that you belong to a certain group, a certain country, or a certain family. When it comes to the question of deciding what is right from what is wrong, what is the correct decision, God expects you to be always fair. That's what He expects us to do. So that is what we should be doing. And of course, while we go about being fair in the society while dealing with others, one thing that would always be at the back of a good, honest, conscientious Muslim, and that is, he or she knows that what we have is the message of God. Well, we're convinced about it. We have read it, we have thought about it, we have faced criticism, and we've come to the conclusion that it makes sense. When that is true, then of course we have to mention it to others, politely, intelligently, but that's what we are supposed to be doing. And why would we do it? Well, one of the verses of the Quran that I mentioned here, of Surah Al-Araf, says that there were people who were inviting others to do good and to stay away from evil. And there were some others who used to tell them that, look here, why are you doing it? You know that they are not going to listen to you. Why are you wasting your time? And the response coming from these good people was that we are spreading God's message to be able to present an excuse before your Lord. Ma'ziratun ila rabbikum. We want to present an excuse before your Lord. That is, on the day of judgment, your mind is going to ask, you knew the truth. Why did you not let others know about it? So they would say that we want to present an excuse. We did our job. We tried as best as we could. And and you never know, they might reform. You never know. You don't know from looking at the face of an individual whether the person is going to accept what you're saying or not. So when you are convinced about the truthfulness of a message, well, you do as best as you can, intelligently, politely, to present it to others. Now, for the above four objectives to be achieved, we need to have knowledge of Islam. For certainly, you cannot practice your faith, you cannot preserve your faith, you cannot let others know about your faith unless you know more and more about it. So, acquiring knowledge is what is important, or is something that we should always be concerned about. The Prophet, may Allah's blessing on him, is reported to have said, خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ. The best among you are those who learn the Quran and teach it to others. So really we need to be worried as to whether we are doing enough to learn the Almighty's message. It's something that we have accepted and embraced as the truth from Him. So as much as is possible, of course, all obligations of religion are based on your capacity. You are expected to do them as much as is possible. So that is one thing that we must do. Be God conscious. We are living in a society where, let's face it, there are temptations. There are more possibilities and openings for us to do evil. If you're living in your society, your own society, with your own family members and friends and peers, well, if not for any other reason, you would not do many things which are evil because you know that others are looking at you. But here you get lots of opportunities where you are all by yourself and the temptations are pretty strong. So one thing that comes to your rescue is God consciousness. The feeling that God knows what you're doing. God is looking at you. And one day, sooner or later, you are going to be answerable to Him. So God consciousness is another important attribute that would come to our rescue, and we would do well to have it. The Quran keeps telling us ways of acquiring it. It says, He is with you no matter wherever you are. He knows even what is in your heart. He is closer to you than your jugular vein. So, if that is a reality which we believe in, we will do well to always make sure that no matter others are looking at us or not, we try to be as good in our behavior, in our attitude, in our actions as is expected. And we also need to be cheerful. Even if you're a pious person, an honest person, but if you have a sullen face, which is always angry for some strange reason, well, you are not a good representative of the group that you are representing. Be polite. Try to learn to smile. It's not a bad idea. It doesn't cost you anything. The Almighty says, speak to the people politely. When you speak politely. Honest to God, I tell you, most people who are harsh in their tone and sullen in their approach and have a grim face is because they have some problem, some weakness. They are not sure whether they will be able to defend themselves against what others are saying. So, they erect a shield, a barrier between them and others so that no communication takes place. That's a horrible reason for you to not smile. I mean, what is the problem? You are here to deal with others, to share good things with others, and it really is important that we should be polite. There is a very important verse in the Quran which says, good and evil aren't aligned. Idfa billazi hiya ahsan. Repel what is evil with politeness. And you will find that the one with whom you had enmity will become your bosom friend. Only those can reach that level who are patient, and only those who can achieve it who are most fortunate. That is, God Almighty is telling us that it is possible that at times when you are talking to others, others may not behave with you the way you expect them. They may not be polite. They may be harsh. But because they don't know. Because they don't understand what you think is correct. And therefore, their immediate reaction may be unpleasant. But if you are somebody who is determined to follow the truth and to let others know what the truth is, you've always got to be polite and cheerful and repel what is evil with what is good. And you will find that in many cases, the one with whom you had enmity is going to change. You'll be able to influence him positively, and he will become your good friend. But of course, this is something which only those people can achieve who are most fortunate. Be open. When you're talking to others, when you are dealing with others, be open. Openness is not something that you can show through your smile. Openness is something that's got to do with your inner self. You tell others that, okay, I've got something to tell you which I think is correct, but I'm fully prepared to understand what you have to tell me, and I'm prepared to share the notes, and give equal opportunity to you. Some people think that this kind of an attitude is problematic, is dangerous. Not at all. If you are confident that what you have got is correct, then you will always be open. If you are not confident, you will not be open. I have an understanding which I think makes sense. You don't accept it? Well, let's talk about it. I am prepared to share my views with you, and I am prepared to listen to your point of view. Quite clearly, people may not agree immediately. Understandably, at times they may not agree at all. But the more you become open, the more you become confident. You know why? Because confidence, and allow me to say faith, which is nothing but confidence in what has been presented to us in the form of religious guidance. Confidence is something you do not get artificially. And I say, by the way, people do get it artificially. There are artificial ways of becoming confident. You know how? You start shouting. You start listening to fiery speeches. You decide that you are going to listen to only one point of view. You will become confident. It's artificial confidence. It is shabby confidence. It's not confidence. It's just fooling yourself. You become truly and genuinely confident only when you tell yourself from inside your heart that, look here, I have honestly listened to the other view. I have honestly considered the other point of view. And when I say honestly, I've already quoted the verse, you've got to be honest, you've got no choice. God cannot tell you that, look here, be honest while taking decisions, but be biased when it comes to faith. Would God say that? He would not. He doesn't. What he's saying is that whenever you are going to be open, whenever you're going to be honest, you become more confident. And that is what faith is all about. You become more and more confident. So what I'm saying is that when this is true, if it is not true, tell me what's the truth. Tell me how to acquire faith. Faith is acquired by considering your understanding and understanding it properly, sharing it with others, listening to what others are saying, comparing them and reaching the right conclusions. The more you endeavor in this direction, the more you become confident and the more you strengthen your faith. Now, if that is true, then what's the harm in opening up? Why would you not open up? You would. Because you would tell others that, okay, this is what I tried. And honestly, I had no options. I was prepared to go the other way. But the other way was wrong. The other path was not making sense. I accepted this path because it made sense. And I just want to share it with you. And, give it some time. And this is something I can tell you, if we are somehow able to adopt in this society, it really is going to do wonders. It's going to go a long way in ensuring that, we at least are able to engage others in a meaningful exercise of discussion. Rather than creating an impression in the mind of others that, these people have some understanding. They're not prepared to talk about it. They're very emotional about it. That's true. But they're not prepared to talk about it. They're not prepared to be open in their discussion when it comes to the claim as to whether what they have is right or not. And we need to be reflective. We need to think. We need to reflect. We need to keep questioning. We need to keep critically examining. I have an understanding which I got from you, and I thought what you said was right. So for the next 5 days, that is what my understanding is, because I honestly believe that what you said was what my religion is saying. And after 5 days, somebody else comes and tells me that, okay, what he said was wrong. This is what the truth is. And this is the evidence of it. This is the dalil of it. What should I do? Should I say, shut up, just get lost? I'm not going to listen to you. You fool. You're trying to disturb me? No. I'll say, thank you very much. Really? I'll consider it. And what I'll do is, I'll reflect. I'll think. I'll ponder. That is what the Quran says. The Quran is inviting the reader to believe in the truthfulness of its message on the basis of reflection, contemplation, pondering over the verses. So what the Quran is saying is that if you are going to open your mind, if you are going to look at the universe, the environment around you, if you are going to consider the scriptures that have been revealed before, if you are going to look at the verses that the Quran is making available to you, sooner or later, you will come to the understanding that it's from God. So, of course, what the Quran is saying is then, be always open to reflect. It's really going to be a shame that you say that now I have got it, and I'm not going to go any further. Well, in that case, I tell you, there is a great danger. There is a great danger that some charismatic personality might start influencing you. and might start taking you away. And honest to God, the Muslim Ummah is divided and subdivided and subdivided into groups, sects, subsects because of this reason. You are influenced by one person and I am in love with another person. I don't want to disagree with my ustaz's, my leader's point of view at all. And you don't want to part with your point of view. So we would never be able to agree on many of the things that we disagree upon. The only way out, the only hope, the only right way is to reflect, to ponder, and to do it honestly. You see, honesty is something which is both practical as well as intellectual. Be tolerant. Be tolerant. That is, be tolerant. That is, be sure that what others have is what they believe to be correct. Respect it. It's not something that really is dodging others. It's not something artificial. It's something which is natural. I believe in honesty because I was born in a certain society and I inherited from my parents a certain point of view. I got the opportunity of going through different phases in my life where there are people, there were books, there were incidents, experiences that influenced me. I want others to believe that I am honest in my understanding. What business do I have to doubt the same for others? The other people believe and understand their point of view quite as honestly because they were born in a different society. They went through different experiences and they acquired their understanding as a consequence of whatever they went through. So when you acknowledge this reality, what you will be doing is that you will be tolerant. Somebody who is not intolerant is self-righteous, is the one who thinks that he has everything correct and everybody else is a fool, has gone astray, is misguided, and is misguided knowingly, deliberately. You can't do it. You have to be tolerant, and the Almighty says, indeed those who believe and do good deeds. Look at what the Almighty is saying. Indeed those who believe and do good deeds. We should not make a soul accountable for anything beyond his potential. Such are the inhabitants of the paradise, they should abide therein forever. SubhanAllah. Have you ever thought of this verse? The Almighty is saying that the paradise is a place which is going to be inhabited by those who will have faith and who will do good deeds. How much faith? How much good deeds? As much as is possible for them. As much as their potential allows them. What is potential? What is wusa? Potential is a component of two things. Your own personality and the way it has been designed by the Almighty, and your environment. That makes your potential, your capacity. God does not expect from any individual faith or good deeds more than his or her capacity. Do you know what the other person's capacity is? No, you don't know. So how can you judge? It is only God who can judge. God is going to judge on the basis of justice, on the basis of fair play. He would know how much a certain person living in a certain country at a certain era of time could know.